So how do you know if it's intuition or fear? For example, you might be starting something new and you're feeling these tense feelings, uncertainty, it's not really working, and it's like, is that your intuition speaking to you saying this isn't the right path? Or is it fear that's coming up in you? In today's video, I'm going to go into 3 different ways that you can see the difference between intuition and fear. And thank you for joining me. I'm AmyC with You Finding You. I'm an intuitive and transformational coach. And if you look in the dialog box below, you'll see that there's a freebie and a roadmap to success. And this roadmap is not just going after status and those things, you know, you're chasing after titles. It's actually starting to look within and find what success means for you. So it's really a roadmap to redefining what success is for you. So again, do check that out. That's in the dialog box below. So let's go ahead and jump on into this and see what the difference is between listening to your intuition and having fears come up. And if you're like me, I spent some time where I'm moving forward on my business, on things in my life, on creative projects, but a lot of times fear will come up. And I'll be like, well, is this the right way? Is this my intuition actually telling me this isn't right? So let's go into and explore a few different ways of seeing the difference between the intuition and fear. And the first one is seeing that intuition comes from a calm place within you, whereas fear is going to be more anxious. It's going to be heavier. So there's a difference in the feeling of it. So say, for example, you have a job opportunity and you go in for an interview and everything on paper you look at and you're like, man, this looks great. This looks amazing. But as you come out of the interview, you're like, there's something that feels off in me. So there's this quiet calmness that is coming in that just feels off. It's not right. And you then find out, you decide not to take the job, but you find out then months later that this place is having difficulties, they're struggling, or maybe even they close their doors. You know, it's like something happens then later on that you're like, oh, that was that off feeling. Versus you go in for the job interview, you take the job, you're doing amazing, you get into the place and you're thinking, oh, am I going to be good enough? Am I going to be able to get these tasks done? So there's an anxiety in you around yourself being able to achieve these things. And that anxiety is coming from a place of fear and wanting to perform or meet other people's needs. So the difference in that too, again, is coming from this quiet, calm place within you of like, oh, something just doesn't feel quite right, versus this feeling of, am I gonna meet other people's needs? Am I gonna come up to their standards, what they want? Am I good enough? And the second way to see the difference in intuition and fear is intuition is present and fear is either in the past or future. So an example of this as well is, say you're getting into a relationship, you're just getting to know someone and you're like, man, I really like this person. But you get this feeling in yourself of something isn't aligned. You're like, oh, I'm not really sure, but you keep going out with them because you're not really sure. And then you start seeing red flags. You start seeing that things aren't quite right. Like they say something and then something different at another time. And you're like, yeah, something isn't quite right here. And then when you look at fear in this case, it'll be something like, oh, is this person going to do like what my ex did? So it's you thinking back to a past scenario and worried, again, anxiety here too, of like, this is not going to work out because, or is it not going to work out because I've had these experiences in the past? And a third way to see the difference in intuition and fear is that intuition feels more expansive and fear is contracting. So again, an example of this is, say you're given an opportunity and your gut says, yes, this is great, this feels very aligned, but you're also like, oh, but I don't know how to do certain tasks. And so you question it or doubt it or feel kind of, I don't know. But when you check back into yourself, it feels very exciting and it's more expansive. Like this is going to expand you. And your intuition is like, yes, follow this, even though you have these fears. And so that's where I was talking at the beginning, where I've had fears of setting up my business. It's like, yeah, but inside of me, there was this feeling of, yeah, but keep going. Like, this is the path. Versus the fear of like, well, what if I fail? What if I can't do this? What if I'm not good enough again? Like all these questions and doubts, which then the fear will start to contract and feel contracting in you. So again, looking at those three different ways, intuition is calm and present and more expansive, where fear is coming from anxieties and worries, past or future, and is more contracted. So the key is, how does it feel in the body? And intuition is going to be a knowing, a nudge. It's going to be a peace even in the unfamiliar. And fear is anxious, doubtful, and it's looking at past wounds or limiting beliefs or stories that we have. And so I would be curious if you are noticing differences in your intuition to fears, or if you've come into situations where you're like, is this fear coming up, or is this intuition telling me not to be going this way? And again, I would be curious to put in the comments below. And thank you guys for joining me today. If you are enjoying and getting value out of these videos, do hit that like, share, and subscribe. Thank you again. I'll see you in the next video.